Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be doing a tier list of every single weapon in Apex Legends as of Season 6. And before we start, I just want to remind you guys that this is my personal opinion, so if you think differently or if you have any suggestions, please tell me in the comments down below. Alright, let's get started. So first off, we have F tier. F tier guns are the worst guns in the entire game. You want to drop these as soon as you can. There's only one gun in F tier, and that is the Mozambique. The Mozambique is the worst gun in the game. It's a 4-round shotgun pistol with extremely low damage unless you can find hammer point rounds. And even then, it's still not that great. It can be outclassed by pretty much everything else. Next up, we have D tier. D tier guns aren't terrible, but they're not exactly that good either. You're still going to want to drop them as soon as you can because they're going to be outclassed by pretty much every other gun, but they still might be useful in early game where people don't exactly have the best loadouts. First off in D tier, we have the Yellowstar. The Yellowstar is an energy LMG that doesn't require reloads but can overheat if you shoot it too much. The Yellowstar's biggest issue is its high recoil that makes it pretty difficult to aim. But if you can get a hang of its high recoil, it's a very powerful weapon to burst fire with because it doesn't require any reloads. Next up in D tier, we have the P2020. The P2020 is a semi-automatic pistol with decent accuracy and fire rate, but relatively low damage and magazine capacity. You can make it a better gun by finding some hammer point rounds, but it's still going to be outclassed by most other guns. Next up, we have C tier. C tier guns aren't bad, but they're not exactly preferable to have in the mid to late game. You should try to swap out C tier guns for a better gun when the chance comes. First up in C tier, we have the Sentinel. The Sentinel is a bolt-action sniper that you can charge up with shield cells to temporarily gain disruptor rounds. It sounds like a pretty cool idea, but it's only really useful when you have a lot of extra meds, and if you don't charge it up, it's just a low DPS sniper that doesn't really do the job. Next up in C tier, we have the RE45. The RE45 is a fully automatic pistol with low damage and accuracy, but allows for quick strafing and has a very fast reload time. Next up in C tier is the Alternator. The Alternator is an SMG with low damage, but decent accuracy and relatively fast reloads. It doesn't really have much going for it, because it doesn't have enough damage to be good at close range, and it doesn't have enough accuracy to be good at long and medium range. Next up in C tier is the Longbow. The Longbow is a semi-automatic sniper that has a faster fire rate than most other snipers, but does less damage per bullet. The Longbow is a solid weapon in early to mid game, but in the late game, you're really going to want something different. And finally, in the top of C tier, we have the Spitfire. The Spitfire is an LMG with an extremely high magazine capacity and a relatively slow rate of fire, which allows you to shoot for an extremely long time without having to reload. The Spitfire's main issue, though, is its damage. It has the DPS close to that of an Alternator, which means that most people will kill you before you can kill them. Next up, we have B tier. B tier guns are solid and strong all around. It can easily become your main gun and deal a very good amount of damage if you just put some time into learning how to use them. But there still are some better choices in A and S tier. To start off B tier, we have the Havoc Rifle. The Havoc Rifle is an energy assault rifle that takes some time to charge up before you can start firing, but has a very high DPS. But it has one main issue, and that is its accuracy. It has very high recoil, and the recoil pattern was just changed this season. This makes the Havoc Rifle a bit more effective at close range than it is at medium range. Next up in B tier is the Charge Rifle. The Charge Rifle is a sniper and is the only hit scan weapon in the game. It also has very high damage, but its main issue is its reload time and its ammo consumption. But now that you can carry a lot more sniper ammo in Season 6, ammo consumption isn't really a big problem for the Charge Rifle anymore, but reload time still is an issue. Next up in B tier is the Flatline. The Flatline is a heavy assault rifle with high damage and can shoot for a good amount of time before having to reload. Its accuracy isn't great, especially in medium to long range, and you can't even put barrel stabilizers on it to help that. But if you can actually hit your shots with the Flatline, you will be a force to be reckoned with. Kind of like this.
You are the Apex Champions.
Damn, you guys carried me. Thank you. You guys should have been. Thanks, brother. Fun playing with you guys.
Next up in B tier is the Mastiff Shotgun. The Mastiff is a 6-round shotgun that shoots 1 shell every second. Each shell can do anywhere from 14 to 104 damage. The Mastiff also allows you to move pretty quickly while aimed down sights, and the accuracy isn't bad for a shotgun. The only thing holding back the Mastiff from being A tier is its long reload time, but it's still an excellent shotgun. And finally, at the very top of B tier, we have the Hemlock. Hemlock is a heavy assault rifle that can be fired in either 3-round burst or single mode, and it's surprisingly accurate, especially with a barrel stabilizer. The only thing holding the Hemlock back from being A tier is the fact that it can't be fired in full auto, which limits its capabilities in close range. Next up, we have A tier. A tier guns are some of the best in the entire game and can easily become your main weapon and deal lots of damage, but are still just slightly outclassed by S tier. First up in A tier, we have the Triple Take. The Triple Take is by far the best non-care package sniper in the entire game, and now that it has precision choke built in, it's even better. Like seriously, you can use this thing in long range, medium range, heck, you can even use it as a shotgun. Next up in A tier, we have the EVA 8 Auto. The EVA 8 Auto is an 8-round, fully automatic shotgun that can deal anywhere from 7 to 63 damage per shell, and has a pretty decent fire rate. Not gonna lie, the EVA 8 Auto is kinda busted. If you look at the spec sheet, it beats the Mastiff in pretty much every single category except for damage per shell, but it doesn't really matter that much because the EVA 8 Auto has the much higher DPS. But they're still both great shotguns. Next up in A tier is the Prowler. The Prowler is a burst SMG that fires in 5-round bursts, or full auto if you have the select fire receiver hop up. In burst mode, the Prowler is more accurate but has less DPS. In full auto mode, the Prowler has much more DPS but is less accurate and consumes a lot more ammo. Next up in A tier, we have the R301 Carbine. The R301 is your standard bread and butter assault rifle with high accuracy, decent damage, and good reload time. It's just overall an excellent weapon, especially for mid to close range. Next up in A tier is the G7 Scout. The G7 Scout is probably one of the best medium to long range guns in the entire game. Why? Because it's accurate, it has a good fire rate, and it deals a pretty decent amount of damage too. Sure, the G7 Scout doesn't have access to the big sniper scopes, but it's still one of the best medium to long range guns in the game. And heck, it's not even that bad at close range either. And finally, at the top of A tier, we have the Volt. The Volt is an energy SMG and is basically the replacement for the R99, which was just put into the care package this season. The Volt has an extremely high DPS, low recoil, pretty good ammo consumption, and a fast reload time. All of those factors combined not only makes the Volt an excellent close-range weapon, but a very good medium-range weapon. The only reason that the Volt isn't in S tier is because that there is another energy weapon that is completely dominating Apex Legends right now. And finally, we have S tier. S tier guns are the best guns in the entire game. Simple as that. First up in S tier, we have the Wingman. The Wingman will always be great. It's been nerfed time and time again, but its sheer burst potential is too strong in all ranges. The Wingman takes very little ammo, isn't reliant on hop-ups, and is even powerful when hip-fired. There is only one non-care package gun that can even compete with a pro Wingman player. Next up in S tier, we have the R99. The R99 was just moved into the care package this season with an increased magazine size and a little bit more damage. The R99 is a powerful weapon, but it doesn't exactly feel like a care package weapon. Next up in S tier is the Peacekeeper. The Peacekeeper is a 5-round semi-automatic shotgun with high damage per shell, but relatively low DPS compared to the EVA 8 Auto. But the Peacekeeper doesn't need high damage to be excellent. The Peacekeeper has accuracy. The Peacekeeper has precision choke built in, which makes the spread of the pellets extremely small when aimed down sights, which means that if you have good enough aim, almost all of the pellets will hit, almost every single time. Next up in S tier, we have the Caber Sniper Rifle. Yeah, there's really not much to explain here. It's just a really, really, really powerful sniper. In fact, it's so powerful that a headshot is a one-shot kill, and body shots almost do 150, which is insane. And finally, at the very top of S tier, the #1 gun in Apex Legends is the Devotion. It has the highest DPS in the entire game, significantly outclassing the R99. It also has a very large magazine capacity as well. Yes, it has to charge up before being able to fire, and it doesn't have the best accuracy in the world, but those two things can be easily fixed with a turbocharger hop-up and a barrel stabilizer. And on top of that, the Devotion doesn't really require any skill. You can kind of just aim at what you want to shoot and press fire, and you probably get a kill. And that is why the Devotion is the #1 gun in Apex Legends. You know, until it gets nerfed. Hey guys, that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe because this video took like 16 hours with editing and everything. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.